Of this thing called the jailhouse scene. Let's talk a minute about fingerprints. Do the police have the power or the right to take fingerprints and mug shots of everybody they arrest? Could it be that the police could arrest you? Oh, let's say they'll charge you with your taillight being out and haul you off to jail and then take your fingerprints and your mug shot, and now they've got the police record of you, and then keep that away from you even though you may or may not be guilty of a misdemeanor charge or an infraction, depending upon what state you're in, of this taillight being out? Well, the answer to that is absolutely no, they can't. But it's also a fact of life that they do it every day. Now, I don't know why it is that the police have it in their minds that they have to have records of everybody in their community. But slaves, for some reason, want to know who all the rest of the slaves are. Now, unfortunately, we have in our society this syndrome, as I'm going to call it, of the law enforcement growth industry called crime. You're bombarded day in and day out about crime growing at 5% a year in and year out, or 10%, or major crimes are up, and now they're talking about fingerprinting little kids in the schools. It reminds me of this Orwellian 1984 nightmare. Now, you're going to ask yourself, well, isn't that necessary, and gee, don't we need to do that to protect ourselves against criminals? Well, I don't know whether you need to or not, but I don't need to. I haven't been victimized by any criminals except my government in my entire lifetime. Have you ever asked yourself, how many times have you been robbed? Well, I don't know about you, but I'm 43 and I haven't been robbed yet. But my government has stolen hundreds of thousands of dollars from me in the last 25 years, and they did it with my consent, and I filled out the form and sent the money to them. Now, when we're talking about the police powers, there is a thing called police powers, and if it's used correctly, it's a power that rightfully belongs in the hands of government. But when the police powers, which are used by police, overzealous police, let's call them, get out of hand, then we, the citizens, have got to take action in order to gain our rights. Now, remember that you don't have any rights that you can't claim, and if you don't object timely, then the right is assumed to be waived. Now, a little earlier I read to you this statement from your Supreme Court, and let's keep this in mind, concerning fingerprints, concerning every right, concerning every objection that you should or you may not make timely, that you may lose. The privilege against self-incrimination, and that's the privilege for a Fourth Amendment warrant, the privilege against, in this case, fingerprints being taken from you, against self-incrimination, is neither accorded to the passive resistant nor to the person who is ignorant of his rights, not to the one who's indifferent thereto. It is a fighting clause. Its benefits can be retained only by sustained combat. If you're not prepared for sustained combat, you're going to lose your fingerprint. It cannot be claimed by an attorney or solicitor. It is valid only when insisted upon by a belligerent claimant in person. It comes from a case called United States v. Johnson, 76 Federal Supplement 538. That's your citation. All right, now let me tell you a little story about what happened to me, and then let's pick up the story flow in the county jail. The police stopped me, and they want to arrest me for no driver's license, no registration, and no proof of insurance. Now, there's a triple negative in the same sentence. But no matter how you label it, in the state of Idaho, those are 3 omissions. Those are not commissions of crimes. Those are omissions. Yeah, that's right, omissions. Now, take a look at the word crime in Bovier's Law Dictionary. A crime requires 2 distinct factors. 1, an act, and 2, intent. Now, if I don't have a driver's license, there is no act involved. Look up the word act and look up the word omission. They are absolute antithesis. You either do something or you don't do something. Now, if you call a crime of omission a misdemeanor, that's one of the king's statutes. And there has to be some contractual agreement or arrangement that would bind you to specifically perform. Remember, Article 1, Section 10 of your federal Constitution gives you the absolute inalienable right to make contracts. Now the question is, can your government compel you to make contracts against your will and over your objection? If that's true, and if that theory of law is correct, we don't have any Constitution and we don't have any Bill of Rights, because government then can compel you to buy auto insurance. They can compel you to buy color TVs or black and white TVs. They can compel you to live in an apartment or compel you to live in a house. It can compel you to buy anything that they want to sell you or to sell anything that you have. There are no rights separate from private contract. The right of people to buy, sell, and trade among themselves is absolutely inalienable. Now your government comes along and says, we're going to compel you to specifically perform in this contractual agreement. So if you have a driver's license, and with the driver's license you're out on the road and you're driving along, and the policeman stops you and he says, okay, now I want you to get out of the car and I want you to walk on the white line, etc. There are some civil rights that protect you. If you don't have a driver's license, there are civil and inalienable rights that protect you. And then, more importantly, there is the belligerent claimant in person. And I like to tell the officer, sir, you are looking at that belligerent claimant in person, demanding these rights. I'm not asking you for them, I'm telling you about them. And I do that with the judge, and I do that with the prosecutor. Because if and when these people who are public servants violate those rights, those are the admissions and confessions that I'm looking for. But bear in mind, we don't pay bail here. I cannot remember anybody paying bail. Well, I shouldn't say that. Now that I said that, I can remember a couple of three. But as a general rule, don't pay bail, because then they've got your money and then you've got to work hard to get it back. Check the statutes. You should find, in whatever state you're in, provision for citizens to post bond. In this state, it's in Title 19. In your state, you'll need to look it up and to learn it for yourself. Always refuse to pay traffic tickets. All they want is the money. Take the money away from them. As long as they've got money, either through taxes or through fines and forfeitures, they'll continue on to oppress you. It's when you take that money away from them that they will then lose their power and capacity to oppress you.